you know,
Okay, you're a designer, so it's okay.
exactly. Yeah.
All right,
So
talking about designing, your name, it rings bell, in fashion designing, and especially when it comes to African fashion, you definitely have cut a niche for yourself. But I'm wondering, what in your childhood informed this? By the time you were doing secondary, primary, did you ever think you were going to do this?
I think I've always been an artist at heart because as far back as when I was like 9, 10, my mom had gotten me a little baby machine. I was making baby clothes. When I was 11, 12, I was doing batik. I was doing tie-dye. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been creating since I was a little girl.
Oh, really?
So it's not something that started as an adult. Something that started. So I think I always knew.
And is it because you're a para person? But our para does not do time.
I was actually doing tie-dye in America when I was growing up in grade school. Not even in Nigeria, so that's where I started, Yeah, so I was doing batik because in school we do batik classes and stuff, and I found it so interesting. So I was doing tie-dye, I was doing batik, I was making clothes, I was putting embroidery and beading on t-shirts, and since I was a little girl. So it started way, way, way back. But I think my mom, who is a creative person, was probably like the biggest influence in my life.
That's interesting. Moms will always do great things for their baby girls, even the baby boys. Now, a lot of people are daunted going into fashion because they're not sure if they're going to make any money. But you decided to move up your hobby, turn it into a career, a profession. And I know you went to a fashion school. So were you not scared at some point that you were just going to study something that will not pay your bills?
Actually, funny enough, you bring that up because my parents never wanted that for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because even though I was very creative, I had a very accomplished parents and a very accomplished mom. When I was 11, my mom already had a PhD. So, when you have a mother like that, who is, so accomplished, she expects so much from her children. So she was like, when I said, oh, you know what, Mommy, at about 14, I was like, oh, I want to go and do fashion design. She's like, So my dad goes, you know what, go and get a proper degree. Why didn't you go and get a proper degree? Because my dad wanted me to do medicine, and my sciences weren't that strong, and I really wasn't interested. He's a mathematician and a physicist. So he wanted me to do medicine. My mom is like, why didn't you do law? Or do architecture. And I wasn't interested in doing architecture. I was like, no, I want to do fashion. So we had this fight back and forth. And then finally, we moved back to Nigeria when I was 13. When I was 17, I was like, okay, I'm going to England. I'd finished secondary school here in Nigeria. And she's like, no. So I said, okay. And I'm very stubborn. I said, okay, I'm not doing anything. So I sat at home for a year. So when I sat at home for a year and they were afraid I was going to be a bum, they shipped me off to England. That worked. Okay, so eventually, it was like, okay, let her go and do what she wants to do, because this one, she doesn't want to go and do fashion now. She's just going to sit here and be a bum, so that definitely worked. So at the end of the day, I did get my way, and it worked out fine.
And let me just find out a little bit. How is your mom, your dad taking it now? How did they take it when you became?
Well, both of them have passed away now, but I think they're quite relieved. That, oh God, thank God it turned out okay. So
you brought your business. You studied in UK.
Yes, I did.
In UK. I'm sure you would have done very well.
I
sold
did.
very well. You worked there for a while too.
I did.
You decided to come back to Nigeria.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, were you not, shaking your own tails, considering what we have on ground?
Like when I moved back to Nigeria, I had a lot of encouragement from friends, because at the time when I moved back to Nigeria, which was 16 years ago, it was not fashionable to come and live in Nigeria if you live abroad. Especially, if you're a citizen and you have to stay and all that kind of thing. So it wasn't fashionable. So people were like thinking, what does she want to come and do in Nigeria? You know what I'm saying? It's not like, oh, you're running from something. And I was just like, I was tired of the cold weather. I was tired of, England is very gray. I get into the bus, I get into the tube, because I like bright colors. I look at somebody wearing black, they're wearing navy, they're wearing gray, they're wearing dark brown. And
very conservative.
Yeah, and I wasn't inspired. And whenever I came, I'd go to Dubai, I'd come to Nigeria, I'd go to hot countries, I felt much more inspired, the colors and everything and all that, I'd be excited. I'm like, okay, I'm moving to Nigeria. So, I mean, I had a bit of a tussle with my parents over that too, because they're like, what do you want to come and do in Nigeria? You know, but I moved to Nigeria. And the rest is history.
Okay. I'm going to ask you what it is like, surviving here, but I'll come much more later. Really keen, a lot of people, when we mentioned we're going to have an interview with you, a chat with you, they look. I remember one particular lady, in fact, she said, "Hey, that's my top designer. I bought her clothes and I kept it in my wardrobe. I was scared of wearing it so I don't get it spoiled."
Okay, all right, okay. All right,
So,
okay.
so it shows how much you're adored by a lot of young people. But again, wondering with the things I have seen around here, a lot of different creativity playing out. How do you, get your, if it's the writers, they say writers more, yes, how do you get your inspiration? Because they're kind of unique and beautifully unique too. Look at this one.
So much. I think having the exposure of living in so many different places has helped, So I've got the American in me, I've got the Nigerian in me, I've got the British in me, So having lived all over the place, I think has helped me in terms of having seeing things in different ways in terms of when I want to put my stuff together. And, the exposure, I think really it's about exposure. And, I find that these days everybody wants to be a creative person. Mm-hmm. It's not something that can be forced. It's either you have it or you don't. But people don't think about, am I creative? They don't really actually look at themselves, and people aren't usually true to themselves. So for me, it just really just comes naturally. I travel and I'm like, oh, I see something. I'm like, oh wow, yeah. I might just walk by a store. Or I might even see an animal, or I might even see a person and I'm looking at the hair and I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. Okay, yeah. What can I do? Because really, I'm an artist, and as an artist, you can move from one type of arts to the other. Mm-hmm. So I like to see myself more as an artist than just a designer. So I think that has helped, and I think it's just God, because creativity is inborn. At least mine is inborn, so that has helped. So it just flows. It flows. When I'm sad, I create something different. When I'm excited, I create something different. When I'm happy, I create something different. So it just depends on my mood.
When you're sad, you create something different.
Yeah, it depends on my mood.
I'm not sure I want to wear the one you create.
I have dark moods. I have, vibrant moods. So it depends. My mood is kind of what determines what comes out of me.
In today's world, we have a lot of businesses going on the social media.
Yeah.
And I've also found out a lot of people claim to be what they are not on the social media.
Yes, of course.
How do you deal with people who steal styles, especially the young ones? They're in a hurry.
They want to make it overnight. I think I see social media more as a curse than a benefit, to be quite honest. I didn't agree to be on social media till 3 years ago. I was virtually forced into it because, all my our brews and stuff are like, Antoniki, you have to be on social media. I'm like, no, I don't have to be on social media. And, people like me were successful before social media came about. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand this thirst for okay, if you're not on social media, you haven't made it. You're not happening. And I'm like, what's up with that? Because what people don't realize is most of the stuff we see on social media is fake anyway. I have to put on full makeup and I have to go like this before I do a picture on social media. Yeah, like one of my mannequins. Then I have to go and borrow a designer bag. It's so unreal. So I don't know. I think the sense of value in the society is gone, and people lack confidence.
I think it's lack of confidence.
And so I think the social media props them up and makes them feel more important than they are. Because if you have confidence, hey, you know what I'm saying? And we've been around way before social media, haven't we? So, you know what I'm saying? So I find it very amusing, and I kind of feel sorry for people that they feel they have to put so much effort into being seen just to validate who they are.
How about stealing people's work and posting it? Stealing your fashion
before social media, they've been stealing my work. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'd open magazines and I'd see patchwork. I'm one of the first people who started patchwork in Nigeria. I can confidently say so. I started doing patchwork skirts, this and that, in silks. And then I started in Ankara, and then everybody started doing patchwork. So I changed my patchwork into patchwork that was not as easy to copy. And I kept on changing my patchwork and changing my patchwork. So people have been stealing other people's stuff before social media. It's just that social media makes it more, because by the time somebody takes a picture exactly of what you've done and copies and paste, then it's like, exactly. But they get away with it until they're found out. Yes. So it's I think it's very sad.
I came into the office before you, remember, and I interacted with your people, and one thing I observed is that they're very happy working with you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A lot of people, your businesses might be doing well, but if you're not careful with your staff, they run you down. What are you doing that is different from some other persons?
Well, I don't know if they're all happy, but I would like to think so. But I think what it is that I try and take them like my children, like my younger ones, that sort of thing. And that helps a little bit, So I've had some of the same staff working for me for years.
So working with young people, male, female inclusive, what are the challenges you face as an entrepreneur?
I think working with people generally, not even whether they're young or old or whatever in Nigeria, is getting skilled labor, getting people that know what they're doing. I think that's one of the biggest challenges. And so everybody you get, you need to train from scratch, which is very tedious, it's time consuming, it's exhausting. And then sometimes you train them and then they leave and then you have to train another person from scratch. So that is really, I think, one of the biggest challenges, because obviously we don't really have vocational schools and vocational colleges in Nigeria. So nobody really has the proper training for something. I mean, if somebody wants to be a window dresser, anywhere in the world, they're going to go and do a course on how to window dress. If they want to do sales, they're going to go and do a course on how to do sales. You understand what I'm saying? If they're going to do tent management and build a tent, they're going to go and learn how to build a tent. So, here, people just it's just like trial and error, and people just manage and practice, and whatever comes out of it is fine.
Oh, that's interesting.
And people don't want to also learn. People, will work for you for 6 months and they think they know everything or 1 year, and they think they can go and do what you're doing.
That's a big issue, because it took a long time in the UK, learning this. When you finish, you have to work for a while. But
absolutely.
6 months,
Yeah. I mean, this is what I've been doing for 25 years. People want to, almost 30 years, people want to build the same brand in 3 years. So it's very interesting to see. So I'd like to see how they'll do that.
All right.
Now, when you're not working, what do you do for relaxation?
I love traveling. I find it really unwinds me. And if I can travel, I like to have a comfortable environment. So once I have my magazines, I've got my cookies, lots of food. I love food. I can go out. I love going dancing. I love music. I love great music. So I have good friends. So, once I can chill, I have different ways of chilling. Once I can chill, I'm good.
Beautiful. You're making me looking forward to when you're going out. Do you do the cooking yourself?
I love cooking.
Oh, really?
And I love food too. I love eating the food as well.
Some people cook and they can't eat. You cook and eat.
I cook and I eat. I cook and I eat. So yeah, so I love cooking and I love eating. And so I find those things relaxing.
All right.
So for young people who want to be in your shoes, gradually grow up to it in the designing field, what would be your advice on how to kickstart?
I think the main thing that I always tell younger people is that they're too much in a hurry. I see the next generation and I don't know where they're rushing to. They're in a hurry to achieve, they're in a hurry to have everything. When we were young and when we were growing up, if you remember, whether you lived in Nigeria or you lived abroad, nobody was interested in designer stuff. It didn't matter who your dad was. You know what I'm saying? Your dad might have, a Jaguar or a Rolls Royce parked. But we'll still all go to the same stores. We'll go to Next on Oxford Street. We'll buy our casual wear. You know, sometimes you even go to thrift stores. You know, you just buy, you buy some t-shirt for 10 pounds. You know, that kind of thing. And you wear it and you're happy wearing it. And, everybody's just cool like that. But now you have young people in their 20s who want to wear designer stuff. You want to carry a $5,000 bag. How does that work? So my.
And then I keep asking, if you carry $5,000 bag at the age of 18, what are you going to carry when you?
Even at the age of 25, you're carrying a $5,000 bag.
What will you carry when you're 40, 50?
Maybe $100,000 bag. You know what I'm saying? So my advice to young people is don't be in a hurry, because being in a hurry will always get you in trouble.
All right, before I leave, I'd like to know, what's your high moment in the industry? I know you've had your creativity showcased outside Nigeria, within Nigeria. What are those high moments you think about and you say, oh, this is a Ruka feeling?
I think that, when people say that, I think I haven't really achieved my high moments, because there are a lot of things. I like to make goals every year, and I like to tick off my goals. And there are a lot of goals that I have not ticked off. So when people say, oh God, you're doing fantastically well. Okay, yeah, I'm doing fine, and I'm doing great, and that's okay. But I know I could always be doing better. And then, like I said, when you have parents that are such high achievers, they expect so much out of you that sometimes when you compare yourself to them and the things they've achieved at a certain age, you're like, come on, I should be further along. So I don't really think I've gotten to where I'd like to be. So when I get there, then we're going to have the next interview.
I'm looking forward to the cooking, the high moments. But let's look at moments when you think you haven't done well, especially with very difficult, clients. How do you cope up with that?
I think that sometimes you just catch people when they're in a bad mood. And people, because you don't know the issues that people are going through, you don't know the challenges they're facing, that sort of bad day. So I like to look at it like, oh God, this person was just having a bad day. So they're not always like this. So I try to look for the best in people. If not, you're going to end up clashing, because I'm a strong personality. The person probably too is a strong personality, and I'll be like, and what I always try with clients is, I don't want to leave a sour taste in their mouth, whereby they'll leave here like, oh God, you know what, a nasty place, nasty person, that sort of thing. So as much as possible, and I train my staff the same way. We always try and handle every challenge we have, but most of the time, most of our clients are very happy. So that helps, so that helps. So we thank God for that.
Thank you so much.
You're
It's been
so
amazing
welcome.
Having this wonderful chat with you. I wish I had more time.
Finally, right?
Yeah. All right. I told them when we started that it took me like 5 years. Well, actually 3 months.
Well,
3-4 months. But at the point I said I was going to give up, but I insisted I wasn't going to give up.
But I kept on calling you too, like, oh look, you know what, I'm not around. We'll see you soon, and it was just one thing or the other.
But finally, I would like to know. There's something they call the PHD, Pull Her Down Syndrome, in women. I know there are other designers around. Does that happen within you? And do you have a kind of network to encourage one another? The other fashion designers, female fashion designers.
I find that, I find artistry in Africa, especially in Nigeria, we're very strange people in the sense that we don't support each other. In our environment, women are our own worst enemies, I find. And when I say we don't support each other, like for instance, you get clients who would buy something from here, and people will ask them, where do you get it? And they refuse to tell people.
Why?
Because they just want to be the only one looking great, and they don't want anybody wearing the stuff they're wearing. And not everybody, but you get a lot of that. And, this pull me down syndrome, I think, like I said, I'd like to believe that some people are just having a bad day, but I find that we always, in our society, a lot of people, we always want to be the one who looks the best. We always want to be the one who stands out. We always want to be the one who's making it. So, you have people around you who will tell you, oh, of all the fantastic things they're doing and how everything is working out for them. And they never tell you anything negative about what's going on in their life, which is okay. And I'm listening, I'm like, oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay. Fantastic. Yeah. Well done. And meanwhile, I know that hey, it's just I don't want to say the word. It's not that's not really the way it is. But I'm hoping. I think that if women were able to do more and collaborate and get together and just be sisters to each other, I think we'll go a lot further in this society and in this environment. So one day,
We hold a population. So if we're able to team up, we can take the world, the country.
but usually, you see a woman in a position and you're like, okay, no, she must, how did she get here? No, it's because she's sleeping with this person. No, it's because she's a prostitute. It's because this is that. Oh, how did she get this? No, it's because some man gave her money. There's always a reason why this and this is successful.
And a lot of times it comes from our fellow women.
And it comes from our fellow women. It doesn't even come from men. So you now wonder, why can't we just support each other? So yeah, that pull me down syndrome is very, very much alive. It's very rife. And then even with younger designers, you want to mentor people, and like you said, instead maybe they come and try and steal your designs or steal your staff or whatever. So you just find that after a while, you just kind of everybody just kind of stays on their own because you don't know what's in anybody's mind, and you think people are like open like you and relaxed like you, and it's not always like that. So
I believe that we will change.
I hope so.
We will change. I believe that we'll get there one day. And on that lovely note, I say thank you again.
Oh,
For having me.
such a pleasure.
And we had fun with us here.
I absolutely did.
A very, well acclaimed designer.